There's no, it's not like a... Okay, so first, so that we know and we have one common view of looking at it, what is reading for pleasure to you? What does it mean to you?
Reading for pleasure to me and to my children that I've actually embedded to them is having a love, a feel of books and having a wide variety of genre to read.
Okay. And you chose the lesson that I observed right now. It was a guided reading lesson. Could you just briefly go over what you did there? I mean, of course, I've done my observation as well, but could you just tell me?
Basically, every day we do a guided reading session, and the other groups are doing comprehension, which they're actually reading, and then filling out the questions. They're doing the inference of what they've read.
Yeah.
And then basically today's guided reading was, I had the middle group, not the high flyers, like that are really fluent in reading, but they were quite good considering they were middle group.
Yeah, and this is what, stage 6, I think?
They were reading stage 6 books.
of the traditional tales,
Oxford stage 6 they were reading. And there were some tricky words in there, and basically we have to ask them the W questions. The school followed the W's, like Mr. Who, Mr. Why, Mr. When. I can show you the W's. And so they're quite used to knowing when I ask a W question. And we don't always necessarily ask the what. We try to make it more challenging for them. How, what if, things like that.
Okay. And what aspects of this lesson do you think, the one that I just saw, what do you think, what aspects of this particular lesson contribute to reading for pleasure? Is there anything in that?
I think, particularly for the two boys that are a little bit more fluent in that group, because now they're on the stage of going a little bit higher than the others.
Yeah.
So they would definitely, for reading for pleasure, if they see that book or a similar book to that, they'll go in their free time when they finish their work, they'll go and choose a book like that and they'll read it for their own pleasure.
And
so,
and the other children were on their tables. They had book baskets and they were choosing from that. So
that's according to their level again.
Okay.
But nothing is set in stone. I mean, if a high ability child wants to be even challenged further, they've got free choice reading in the book corners. But they've all got access to that. And you observed last week when you came that once they've done their writing, they can always go to the front, take the core book that we're following this half term, which is The Smarter Giant in Town. I've got 6 paper copies and I've got 6 hardback, so that's 12. I mean, 12 is quite a lot of one core book. But we have that for every core book that we do, so they can read that for their own pleasure as well.
So these baskets are leveled
according to their ability.
Okay. And they can, however, get up and access books that aren't.
But then they tend to challenge themselves, not with the baskets, by going to the reading corner and getting a higher level.
Okay.
But the ones that are in a lower group tend to want to read
at their level?
Yeah.
Okay. And the teachers I think the children were reading to them, and
they were doing one-to-one reading.
Okay.
We do that with every child. Once a week. Some children might need it 2 to 3 times a week, according to their ability. If they're lower, we do tend to give them more time with reading. But and that's according to their level, and it has to be recorded. And we ask them the W questions again. And then we have to write in there. And we don't just write read well. We have to write a specific comment, like how they understood the text, what did they understand in the text. If they struggled with any aspects of the reading, and then if they found any word challenging, it goes at the bottom of the reading record, and then that words they then will have to start learning to read and spell, not just the high frequency words.
Okay, so those will be specific for each child. Those words.
So that, I mean, we're doing a lot because this whole school, one of the main thing for us is reading. Reading is.
No, I can imagine, especially at this. I mean, this is a very crucial
Yeah.
year as well to get them
Yeah.
going. And I didn't really take a very close look at the classroom library, but how do you set that up? How the choice of books and
We've got non-fiction, we've got fiction.
okay.
We've even got books that they've done themselves. You can have a look at that. I mean, books that they've done on themselves, where like The Farm.
Oh,
We went to The Farm, so they wrote a series of like their own little versions of their stories of the farm. So they're exposed to different genres, like I was saying. So yeah, and now once a week, the school has also trying to embed another thing, which is called First Talk. So every week on Fridays, we don't do no writing. It's all about oral. So we read a newspaper article, we dissect that newspaper article, and then we do for and against.
Oh, okay.
So they're getting a different,
a
wider,
And with the library specifically, do children's views, their likes, dislikes inform?
Oh yeah, because we've
books
got
that you
like,
get?
if you saw the what was it on the windowsill on the side, we've got like book reviews.
Okay.
So the books that they've really enjoyed, they've done a book review on it, and it's on display.
Okay. And then does that information that you get from those book reviews, or any other way of collecting information on what children like and dislike, does that inform the kind of books that you get for the children in the classroom?
Well, we're quite lucky. I mean, they get a selection of books every time because the head teacher's always buying us a bulk of books, and she's always giving us, like, these are new selection of books. So I'm always exposed to. Yeah.
Lots and lots. That's good.
I mean, we ask them, do you have any preference? But sometimes they say, but most times
but there's no formal way of getting children's, like a survey they conduct, like who likes what.
Oh, we've done that. I mean, it's more or less one says it and then they all want to kind of copy the same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're saying that you've tried to do like a survey of.
We've done, I've done it in the past, but then it's not very accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of like, because they're so young.
Yeah.
I think that works better when it's
older.
When
older children. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you're saying that everyone just writes the same
thing. Yeah.
And you're using Oxford Reading Tree, or is that your core reading program, or?
No, we also have another one. I think it's Collins or something.
Okay, so
you have another scheme for guided reading. I tend to use both.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
And I saw Read Writing flashcards on the frieze on the walls. Are you using Read Writing? Or
we do. We do Ruth Miskin's.
Okay. Yeah. So you're using Ruth Miskin for phonics, and
we do phonics for every group that each teacher has, because they're streamed according to their phonics ability. They have a book as well according to that.
And those you're also using the Ruth Miskin's decodable readers. Are you using those? Or
yes. Yes.
So you have the Ruth Miskin phonics program, and then you're supplementing for guided reading with Oxford Reading Tree and Collins.
Yeah. So they do a lot of reading, because they do reading the core text with the class. They're reading 1-to-1. They're reading guided reading. They're doing reading the comprehension and answering questions.
Yeah.
We do a SPAG lesson.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's lots going on.
And then on Friday, like I said, the newspaper. So that's a new thing. But it's been like 3 weeks. This is the 4th week, and they seem to be loving it.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's also something. It's real world, right?
Yeah. So we've been giving them articles. Like the last article we had last week was how to keep your pets safe away from smoke. So we had a big talk about who's got pets, why would they get injured, all these sort of questions, and they kind of came out with all these questions, and we had brainstorm. And then week before that we had pandas.
Okay.
Should they be kept caged up, or should they be set free? And it was amazing the answers they came up with when I split the class up. Half of them said, no, we should capture them because we need their fur, we need furry coats. And then the other side said, no, they should be set free. And it was it was interesting.
And are you using any books besides are you using all decodable readers, or are you also using?
No.
Okay. Do you have the books that children get on their
in
table?
the baskets? If you saw in their baskets, I mean, some children are even going up to stage 9, 10.
Okay.
I mean, this year I had a very low ability class,
Okay.
and according to that, I have actually pushed them a lot. So yeah.
Because there's what I know is Oxford Reading Tree has like these strands. So some of them are phonics, like they're based aligned with.
I don't just tend to give them just phonics because then they need to be exposed to learn to read by sight. And the main thing for me is not just reading. Reading is important, but to understand what you've actually read, that's the most important.
That is
Because 9 times out of 10, I find that particularly some children, they read, but are they actually comprehending what they've read?
Yeah. And also, do you feel that the reading program that you have, or the books that you're using, do they help you develop reading for pleasure among your children?
Yes.
Okay. And do you?
Because I can hand on heart say yeah, it does, because the last 2 classes that I've had, I mean, they've become very, very good readers, good writers. Obviously, if you're a good reader, you are going to become a good writer. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And and their parents are coming to me and they're going like, obviously, you've given that kind of basement, and they're reading like really big words, and
it makes it huge. And I think if that's set at this stage, obviously. And do you ever find yourself sharing like your own reading preferences or habits with your children?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously like lack of time, but I tend to twice a week or 3 times a week, I do try to read personally to them a book, and I tend to read a lot of like Roald Dahl, BFGs, and Chocolate and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Mr. and Mr. Twits, and things like that. Just different genres for them, so that they can.
And do you ever talk about what books you like reading? I like reading this.
Yeah, I tell them all the time. I even tell them like Roald Dahl's. I tell them about Julia Donaldson. I love all of Julia Donaldson's books, and so.
Okay, very nice. And then I don't know if, because I noticed that you're doing Reading Connects. Your school's doing it has like outside your door there's a picture of you reading a menu, and then there's a picture of the other teacher reading a newspaper, and then that's like.
That's what I'm saying. This school is very hot on reading.
Yeah.
Big on reading. Yeah. And they've got another picture of me reading a core book.
Yeah.
Relaxing in the staff room. Takes you out of this world. So each teacher is reading something.
So what I know about Reading Connects is like a National Literacy Trust. And I read about how, again, reading for pleasure is very central to the Reading Connects idea as well. And I was wondering if you've had any training in the school specific for reading for pleasure, or
I've been on many courses. So I know exactly what is entailed with reading for pleasure. And that's why I can actually give them that in my class. So they're very lucky.
But not specifically in the school?
We've not had that training. But they are implementing it and are sending people on courses in groups.
Okay, yeah, because I know that in Ealing, the person who got me into all of this was telling me that there were trainings, and then they go back. And
in our school they're sending them. I've already been on it.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And did that cover specifically reading for pleasure?
Yeah.
And what kind of...
I mean, in there it says children should be exposed to, like, say, if a boy likes reading Spider-Man, give them a wide range of Spider-Man books and Batman comics, and so they're reading for pleasure. You have to expose them to the genre they like.
Yeah, I think that's important. And sometimes teachers think that maybe Spider-Man comics aren't really... proper books.
But like I said, I have comics in my book corner, and but then I change it around.
I should take a look at the book corner
and I change it around.
Okay, and how often do you change
I change it every 3 weeks. Because we had football books. We've had.
Should we move somewhere else?
Yeah.
Should we move somewhere else?
Priya, shh.
Okay, so we have and do you feel like the trainings that you've had specifics to reading for pleasure has changed your practice, your classroom practice in some way?
Yeah, please. Thank you. Well, yeah, the training that I've had has helped me because, like I said, I've been in schools for many years, and yeah, I've adopted a lot of strategies
From that
Yeah.
specific to, because I'm looking at, because reading for pleasure isn't like, like phonics, like
No.
they train you, these are the 6 steps and then you do those 6 steps. But when it comes to reading for pleasure, it's more of like
It's got to be within, isn't it, as well? It's got to also, and it's difficult if a child does not like book, and some child might find it challenging, some children might find it challenging because they can't just read. But then that's okay. I tell them that's fine. Look at the book, get the book in your hand, get the feel of it, look at the pictures, scan through it. That is one part of actually like enjoying a book. You don't have to necessarily, like, especially for my SENs, I say, look at the book, see what you think, predict something, see what you can make out of it.
And then the picture, that's the good thing, I suppose, about picture books.
Because I've got a girl who's come from overseas, doesn't speak one word of English, now can decode words.
Wow, okay.
So.
Wow, yeah. And why do you think it's important, when it comes to, you said that you share your reading habits with the children or tell them your preferences. Why do you think that would be important?
I'm very dramatic.
Okay.
I love drama.
Okay.
I love acting.
Okay.
And I've told them, you have to annotate your voice. And it's important. Look at the news reporters. Have they got a monotone? Look at actors. Do they use a flat voice? No, they don't. They vary their voices. They have their hand movements. They, so I told them, if you're going to look at books, enjoy books, have a love for books, you will become good readers, you'll be fluent readers, and you'll be able to do some acting with it, which we tend to do as well.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And what sort of impact do you think, whenever you've been to a training session and got an idea specific to reading for pleasure, and what have you noticed the impact of?
I've noticed, like in reception mainly. I mean, I've only been there for a very short time, but there I noticed putting their mock comics. Then I've seen boys drawing to it and picking it up, looking, trying to make the story out. Some able children trying to actually read it. So it does actually help.
And do you guys, are there like any formal meetings where teachers get together and talk about the kind of books that are popular or recommend books to each other that might work in year 1?
I tell them about certain books that I like Tuesday. Tuesday is a lovely book. It tells you about the sequence, it tells you about time. There is lots of books that I like. So if I like a particular book, I will say to my colleagues or friends, this is a really good book. Try reading this to your class or expose this to them. And they will learn.
Do that. And time. Is there any, again, I'm sure you guys, most schools, they meet for discussing reading progress, etc.
Oh, we do,
And do you find that in those meetings there's specific attention given to reading for pleasure and fostering reading for pleasure?
I mean, we have started doing that, and the head teacher's always asking, what books do you want for your class? Is there anything that I can get you? Because she loves buying books. She loves buying books.
I wish my head teacher did when I was...
She loves buying books. She loves buying books.
It's always, I think, because that matters what they have access to and what...
Because if you look outside our school, every so often there's like boxes of book people that delivered books to our school. Or books.
What opportunities do children get to read independently during the school time?
On Friday, we have that, it's called Enrich Day, where teachers do not mark. It's a new thing that the head teachers, we do the newspaper article, then we do math investigation where they're actually reading and solving the problems. Then after that we have lunch. After lunch we have assembly. After assembly, then we have silent reading, reading for pleasure. They can read a book that they like.
Okay.
So
And how long is this time period?
for 25 minutes.
Okay.
That's
And
quite long, every once a week they read for pleasure, so they can read any book they like,
Okay.
as long as they're reading.
Okay. And they can pick up from the class in the library.
They can read, pick it up
Yeah.
from the book corner, they can pick it up from the front, they can ask me, Miss Sheikh, can I have this book?
Yeah.
I'll happily get it for them.
Yeah.
And then we also have a library. They go once a week to the library as well.
Okay, and when does that happen?
Every Tuesday, our slots for every Tuesday.
Okay.
We have a librarian called Miss Lewis. I can take you up and show you. They have a variety of books there.
Nice.
And the librarian reads to them once a week. Each class have a slot. Mine was yesterday, my class.
Okay.
And that because they do that for the teachers' PPA, so my PPA is in there, so that it's easier for the TAs to take them. Where the librarian reads to the class, they choose a book, and then they take it home. And once a week they change it.
Okay, so this is also for
Additional
yeah,
to the-
and this is not a time. There's no like, is there one-on-one reading or reading?
No,
blocks
they
or
just
anything?
choose a book that they like. They look at the variety of books,
Okay.
and so they're exposed to that as well. I forgot to talk about.
Yeah, and they're taking books home. How often? How is that?
That's once a week. The
Okay.
library book is once a week. Their phonics is once a week. They do one-to-one reading. They have guided reading. They do reading comprehension.
Yeah.
They're reading the newspaper article. Reading. Yeah. So as you can see, they're reading a lot in this
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
And
Which is good because they need it.
yeah. I mean, that, again.
And if you ask my children, why do you read? The really bright, like 3 groups, will be able to tell you it widens your vocabulary, it gives you fluency,
Yeah.
it gives you, they can actually tell you why.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then you have, I just have, like, how do you balance reading time that focuses on developing reading skills and reading time that focuses on developing reading for pleasure? How do
So
you?
reading for pleasure is mainly at the end of the sessions,
Okay.
and reading for pleasure is very embedded on Fridays, particularly.
Yeah.
That 20-25 minutes slot.
And that's something that you're saying is recent, so a couple of months? or
But then
something?
before that, we were doing, it was called Golden Time.
Oh, okay.
It teaches abolished Golden Time.
Oh, well, okay. What was
Yeah.
that golden time?
Golden Time is where they had free flow access to do whatever they like. And they had whole afternoon. If they wanted to do reading whole afternoon, every Fridays,
do.
they were allowed to do that.
But did you notice, because we had something like this, and this is what got me interested in this research, because
Yeah.
I've worked in Pakistan. We had an hour every single day, actually, where children could do whatever they wanted. Because this was a slightly different, a democratic school where we encourage choice.
Okay.
And what I noticed was that if there's 25 children, maybe you'll have 3 sitting in this corner reading, but then most of the other children want to do other things because they have access to sport and they have access to
Yeah.
toys, and then they wouldn't choose
Yeah.
to read. So in this golden time, did you?
No, we had there was only 6 allowed at a time, so I had to restrict them. 6 allowed. And the reason why they like to go in my reading corner is because I do it according to their needs and make it more stimulating for them. Like the cushion, if you stand on that cushion, you'll know it's so cozy. So they just love to go there and just relax with a book.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess and
You have to
then,
build that environment.
and then you also talked about making sure that you had books that
Yeah.
they
Changing,
liked, so
yeah.
and you had comic books. So I think that also makes a huge difference where you actually have the books.
We've even got autobiographies like Justin Bieber's and blah blah blah. And, yeah. So they have to be exposed to everything because in life they are.
Justin Bieber biography.
I mean, this is what the head teacher gave, or One Direction, or something like that. One Direction. So this is what I'm saying. It's the head teachers giving us. I change it around every so often.
Yeah.
So
No, that's good. It's like I like the idea of putting One Direction in there because that's what they're interested in, right? So.
yeah.
And how do you've talked a bit about how you organize independent reading time, but so when you have, on Fridays when you have a specific slot, is there any planning, organization that goes into it?
Guided reading, it does.
Guided reading.
And I also do book club every 12 weeks, I run a book club,
Okay.
or Key Stage 2, sometimes Key Stage 1 as well,
Okay.
where I choose a book. I take about 12 children in this book club. We dissect that book, we read it, we annotate our voices, we try to understand what the writer is actually trying to portray to us.
Yeah.
So I take it in a different dimension for them.
Okay. And you're saying that this is mostly for year 2, but sometimes?
Yeah, last year I did it for year 1 and 2.
Okay.
This year I did it for year 1s, and the year before, 2 years prior to that, I did it to year 3s.
Okay.
So yeah, I do it.
Okay.
I vary it.
And when you the independent time on Friday, the 25 minutes, is that something? Do you also read to the children during this time sometimes, or is it just there?
It's literally pin drop silent.
Okay, and everyone's reading.
The ambience is so lovely because even I have to take a book and read.
Okay, that's really nice.
They're seeing an adult read. Maybe the TA sometimes sits and reads.
Yeah.
So we have to show them this is reading for pleasure.
Yeah.
Something that we like.
And is this something that you decided to do yourself, read the book, or is it something that the
I
school
decided.
saying?
I know reading for pleasure. They just want the class to read, but I tend to take a book out because obviously we have to be good role models to them.
Yeah.
And I have an SEN child. He's mad on Transformers.
Yeah.
So sometimes I bring in a book with Transformers in for him.
Yeah.
He'll happily sit there looking at the book, trying to take certain words out. So you have to accommodate different children.
Yeah. And do you I know that a lot of schools specifically focus on choices that will help boys, and you talked about comic books and Transformers. That makes sense. And do you find children interacting with each other or coming to you during these sessions where they're reading for pleasure?
Reading for pleasure, no. Unless they want to go to toilet, or they get stuck with a certain word, or they need to know something.
Yeah.
Or sometimes what I do, I tell them, whatever words you don't know, write it down.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the session, give it to me, and then we can discuss it.
So they're not talking to each other about their books or anything during the session, and not coming up to you. Okay.
They used to when it was golden time. They used to
Okay.
read it. They used to talk about their book and to each other. Oh, my story's about da 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 da.
Okay, but now they're doing more like silent, independent reading where they're not.
But that's helping them
to
I believe it's helping them to concentrate more.
Yeah.
They're actually reading to understand what they're reading, and they're getting that time to just relax with the book. Because if there's a lot of noise, a lot of background talking, you're not concentrating on the book.
Yeah, maybe just flipping through and not really.
Yeah. Because I mean, they'll adapt that skill as they get older.
Yeah.
They can read even when someone's talking.
Yeah.
They can read.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you set up choice during these independent reading sessions? You have that corner, and the children just go and
they don't read it in any corner. They read it at their desks.
But when they just go and choose the books,
they choose the book before we start. Okay. They sit at the tables, they read it, and then when I say it's time to stop, they then put it away.
Okay. And okay, this we've covered. I'm trying to, because sometimes you've answered a question that I had. And do you and your students get to talk often about the books that they're reading for pleasure?
Yeah.
And when does that?
They get time at the end of the day.
Okay.
Monday mornings we share. End of days we always share. We always share our playtimes.
Okay.
After lunch time,
okay.
They get an opportunity. I give them like a couple of 10-15 minutes to talk about what they want to do.
Okay. And let me see how. Okay, we already know that you're supplementing the core program, and you told me about who decides what ends up in the library. And are there any readers that you find are particularly important, popular among the children, or is it just a very wide range?
The boys actually liked Horrid Henry for a short period of time, and they would religiously take Horrid Henry books and read it.
Yeah.
Not my particular. to you, but yeah.
My
actually
son
enjoyed
really
it,
liked it
yeah.
for a while. Yeah, they're kind of, the cartoons are a bit disturbing as well.
But, yeah, some children like it. I'm like,
Yeah.
no. I've told my teacher, don't buy any more Horrid Henry for our class.
And then, do year one children